Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. I have a fascinating author and coach to introduce you today. Claudine Pereira is her name. She's a respected business and leadership consultant and the author of the #1 best-selling book, The 7 C's of Leadership Mastery. She's known for helping leaders unlock their full potential. Claudine combines real-world expertise with practical strategies to inspire top performance and lasting success. She's celebrating her 10-year anniversary as a coach and an author. She's on a book tour and a promotion for her book to spread the word about the importance of leadership today. Claudine Pereira, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Really, really happy to be here, and thanks for having me. Really
My pleasure.
appreciate it.
So what are the 7 C's of leadership mastery?
So the 7 C's of Leadership Mastery are really the key words that I chose when I was really delving in and thinking about writing this book. That, in 25 years of my leadership experience, these were some of the key words that I really felt represented leadership. And obviously, if you sat down and asked many people about their favorite words that represented leadership, you probably could add many more to those C's. But these were the ones that I really felt were most impactful if somebody was to pick up my book and really think about enhancing their leadership skills if they already are a leader, or if they are sort of like a leader in training or thinking about wanting to be a leader or a business leader. These C's represent the key things that I felt that are most important to work on.
Can you give us a sense of them?
Yeah, there's many. So we've got credibility, communication, compassion. So there's many. I can tell you all of them if you like. Customer experience, courage as a leader, because we need to have courage to be in leadership or even to run a business. Change. We talked about credibility, compassion, communication. Now, I would say that they're all important. If I had to pick the most important one out of all 7, I would definitely say credibility. Because credibility in everything that you do, whether you're a leader or not, is really massive.
How does one gain credibility?
I think it's really about being who you are and showing up who you are. Like a lot of people, they have a presence online, and then when you meet them in person, they're kind of the not person that they sort of publicize themselves to be. And I think it's about everything that you do. It's about respect. If you have a team, it's about gaining that respect of the team. If you are a business leader, it's gaining the respect and credibility of the people that you work with, the people in your community. Much like, when you meet somebody or someone gets recommended to you and you say, okay, that sounds great. Are they the person that somebody has sort of, recommended to you? So are you credible in other people's eyes?
You didn't
And it's
mention
respect.
You didn't mention academic achievement. So credibility isn't just skills or smarts.
Well, I do believe in the educational system, getting degrees, and that does build credibility. But, my book is more around the soft skills of it all, right? Like I'm a lifelong learner and I love education. And I think that, you just can't get enough of it. But credibility that I speak about in the book is really those soft skills and those things that you need to do to continue to gain credibility as a leader with your team or in your field, or just in life in general.
You say soft skills, and you've referred to compassion a few times.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people wouldn't say that compassion is a key thing of a leader. In fact, they would say it's toughness or, I hate to get political, but, you think about the current Republican nominee for president, former President Trump. He's the opposite, I would have thought, of compassionate. He's like tough guy and holding up his fist in the face of anything. Why is compassion important to you?
Yeah, I think, and I suppose to me, it's about relationship building, right? It's about, and again, everybody looks at leadership differently. Some people might look at him as a leader. To me, some of those characteristics are the old-fashioned, boss. I'm the boss. Follow me. I'm going to tell you what to do and you're going to do it. versus leading, which is bringing people along in the journey with you. And compassion is about focusing on relationships, understanding others, and having, psychological safe environments, whether you're a business owner or you're running an organization or you have a team. Personally, the leaders that I coach right now, these are some of the things that I've heard firsthand that their teams are looking for and people are looking for these days. So this is why I've leaned into that. And, compassion is not about just having empathy and understanding and feelings and, I really feel so sorry for you. Compassion is having a desire to really help that person. So having compassion for others and then taking action to help them to move out of whatever they're dealing with. So I think it's huge. Like there's a whole chapter around it. But having compassion for others and having compassion for self. So for me, it is a soft skill, but it is actually difficult to practice because it is much easier to be like, former President Trump say, just do as I say, and a lot of people respond well to that. But that's not what this book is about.
You call yourself the pink coach. Are these attributes only relevant for females, or are they relevant for everybody?
Relevant for everybody. The pink was really, more about when the business was branded 10 years ago. It was more of a theme. It was about, I'm very strategic, I'm very focused, I'm very passionate about what I do. And the pink was just a brand choice. So, it doesn't necessarily mean that I work only with women because, a lot of my clients are men. And, it's more of a style. It's more of a, that passion in me. And when, you meet me as a person and you see me online, everything sort of just flows with the color. But yeah, I don't just work with women. I do work with men as well.
And this book, where can one get it?
So the book right now is on Amazon. So if you type in the 7 C's of Leadership Mastery or my name, Claudine Pereira, you will see it on Amazon. Just a little plug, it did hit #1 bestseller within 30 hours of it being published. You can also find the book on Barnes & Noble, Indigo and Chapters. So you can also buy them online. There are e-versions if you like to, just listen. There's like a Kindle version. And in the first quarter of 2025, I will be recording an audio version for those that don't like to read or maybe some learning disabilities with, dyslexia. There will be a nice audio version done in the new year. So that's where you can find the book.
And on Amazon, it says that this is perfect for fans of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Leaders. Why? Just because it's 7?
No, you know what? I'll tell you the truth. My editor said to me, "You need to have that it's a parallel to another book." And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, which are my favorite books in leadership that I can say that, if you like this, then you're going to like my style." Right. So that to me, the style of that book represented kind of the style that I was working and portraying in the 7 C's of Leadership Mastery. So that was an editor note, but I do love that book.
Why do you think it became so successful so quickly?
I have an excellent social media gal, Tammy Hudgens, shout out. And we had, between the editor and I and Tammy, a marketing plan in terms of, it's very strategic. If you haven't written a book before or, you're planning on writing a book, it's an exciting journey, but everything has to be very, very planned out, milestones, timing, so that when that book gets published, you have a 72-hour window when you upload files to Amazon. And the minute it goes live, you have a very short window to get that promotion out there and get people buying the book. Because when they buy the book and then they write reviews, that's what I think it hit #1 in 2 different categories, if I'm not mistaken, on Amazon. I think one was like business negotiating category, but it's all about timing and it's about marketing. And I have my community is wonderful. I've built a very strong community over the last 10 years. I'm very involved in the community, have a wide network. So once you start to sort of advertise that and people know that it's coming, you're drumming up some interest for this little book that's coming out. That's what happened. It went straight to #1. People were sharing, reading, commenting on it, writing reviews, and that's how it hit #1.
Excellent. Well, congratulations. I look forward to chatting with you a little bit more about the 7 C's of Leadership Mastery. We're going to take a break for some messages, though, and be back in just 2 minutes with our guest talking about being the pink coach, Claudine Pereira. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 minutes.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. I am interviewing tonight the Pink Coach, Claudine Pereira, who's written a book called The 7 C's of Leadership Mastery, and it's rocketed up to
Yes.
#1 bestseller, which is great. You say that it all started in Mo's Place in England, advanced school. Tell me that story.
Yes, so I grew up in the UK, as you can probably hear by the accent. And as a young teen, I was very, very shy. Everybody laughs at that now because they think I'm very, extroverted. I'm really not. I'm quite shy by nature. And so my mother threw me into dancing school, and she took me into Mo's Place in Reading, if anyone knows Reading in England. And she said to the owner, Monica Cleaver, she won't speak. She's very shy. And, can you do something with her? So my dance career began at that tender age of 13, and also leadership, because, I was very, I worked extremely hard at the dancing school. I was respected by other dancers, teachers. And again, I had no leader in my title, but this was just how I chose to portray myself. I was a leader in teaching the other kids, and then moving on when I was 17, 18, I switched gears into American rhythm and ballroom and competed, and always at the top of that leaderboard, winning first places. So dance really opened a lot of doors for me, and it also gave me that early foundation as I went into my corporate career when I was 23 years old, to understand and have that resilience and understand leadership and discipline. So it really, really served me well. Here's a little picture, actually. It sits on my desk of Mo's Place. There it is. So the top windows at the top were some of the dance studios. We had a gym in there, and it was quite wonderful. And I'm still actually, Monica took my book, and she cried when she read it. She took it all the way to Italy and snapped a picture of herself. She's in her 70s now, and I was taking lessons with her online during the pandemic. And she's an amazing leader. Like, really do look up to her as well. And I've learned so much from her.
Why would dance teach you about leadership?
You know what? It's funny because in the dance world, for anybody that's listening that has maybe kids in dance, any parents that are listening, or any competitive sport, sometimes it's not nice. There's a lot of, backstabbing and knife throwing and competitiveness, which you need in that industry. However, for me, I really chose to be a leader in my field, in my dance style. And, I wanted to be known for something. And so back then, I didn't realize what I was learning was about leadership, was about being that trailblazer, that inspiration to other dancers, being humble and vulnerable and opening myself up when I couldn't do something. So all of those skills, really taught me something about, how I wanted to show up every day as a human being and as a dancer. Because I didn't want to be one of those, crabby dancers throwing stones at the other person. Yes, I wanted to win, and I was extremely competitive. So to me, as I've reflected, writing this book over the last 25, 30 years, that's really when it first started for me. That's really when it first started. Because I think we really do think about, we hear a leader or a manager, and along with that goes a title. The whole purpose of this book is really to understand, it's for the unsung heroes, the unsung leaders that don't know that they can lead. Back then, I was 13, 14, leadership, I wouldn't have even known what that meant. So that's why I love to tie in that story, because it really created that foundation for leadership for me.
My daughter was a competitive dancer, and always thought that it taught her several really good, helpful lessons. One was punctuality. And unlike my sons, my daughter was always punctual because you had to be on the dance floor, dance studio. Number two, she was comfortable in front of people, getting up in front of people and dancing, often with a dance costume on. She had to be comfortable performing in front of people and remembering exactly what she was going to do. And so when she got up on stage to speak and make introductions and something like that, she was very comfortable in that kind of environment. She was also really comfortable with hard work. And there was a sign on the wall of the dance studio that I loved. It was, amateurs practice till they get it right. Professionals practice till they can't get it wrong.
Wrong. Oh, I love it.
I really like
dance. What kind of dance was she doing?
everything,
everything.
jazz, ballet,
Yeah,
contemporary, hip hop,
yeah,
all these different
the
things. I think it was
standards.
very helpful to her. So I love your story of it all started in the dance studio. When
So
did
you
you
must see
start?
that in her, because that's that sounds exactly very parallel to all the things I experienced as a dancer, the discipline. And now, being a consultant and a coach and running my own business for 10 years, that takes a lot of discipline and resilience. And I blame it all on dance. I can't, I see it in any of my business owners that I lead, that have had any kind of competitive sport, soccer, hockey, dance, are doing way better than someone has not grown up in competitive sports. Very interesting.
Competitive sports, you think is the key, not competitive team
Oh,
sports, just competitive sports.
just in general, anything that requires you to show up, as you said, punctuality. We had to have our hair back. If we were not dressed properly and coming in with earrings in, we were sent out. Mom would say, "Yep, out," and you'd have to leave. These days, you get sent out of a class and they're crying to the parent, then the parent complains to the dancing school owner. It's very different.
When did you
But
decide to become a coach and a consultant, and why?
so my early coaching days started in my corporate career. I was a coach and leader and sales trainer to big teams, and that's when my coaching journey began. I took a lot of my coaching training through my corporate career, and when I left the bank in 2014, it just seemed like a natural thing for me. And actually, some of the people that I had been mentoring in one of our offices in Montreal had said, "Hey, can I continue to mentor with you?" And I said, "Absolutely." And these were the sort of foundational clients of my practice. So, when I started the business, I kind of went into it with blind faith, as you do sometimes, going, "Well, I'm just going to give this a go." We came up with all the, Eagle came up with all the branding, the name of the company, and we hit the go button. And for me, it was something that, coaching and consulting is, I really wanted to see the change in people. I really wanted to help others to see the best, for me to bring out the best in other people, whatever that looked like at that time. And it turned out to be I was bringing out the best in people that are business leaders, growing their businesses, and leadership. I felt like I had so much knowledge and things that, as I said, when I wrote this book, if I'd have known half the things that I've written in this book when I started out at the age of 23 in leadership, I would have done way better at it, right? So I've gone from all the things that have gone wrong to the things, the 7 C's that, to me, work the best in this field. So for me, it was a transfer of knowledge. I wanted to make coaching accessible. Anybody that said, "Oh, coaching's so expensive, oh my gosh." So I thought, okay, let me make it accessible so that people can come out and experience coaching. Because as you know, having an athlete in your family, what it does when you have great coaches, right? There's nothing, you will accelerate. It's like the athlete's journey. So for me, that was really important. And one of the reasons why, I wanted to get this practice up and running.
We talked about credibility and compassion. One of the other
Yeah.
ones you mentioned was courage. Tell us about courage.
So one of the things I talk about a lot to my leadership clients as well is managerial courage, the courage to have difficult conversations, the courage to, take those calculated risks with whatever you're doing in your life, and standing up for your values, standing up for what you believe in a respectful manner. And, I think that for me, when I first started out in my leadership journey, I was still battling with my, not imposter syndrome, because I've never really had that, but I was still battling with some shyness, believe it or not, even as a dancer, So to me, courage was, I had to tackle my fears. And when you're in leadership, courage is massive. It's about, you need to really think about the small daily acts of brevity that it takes to, impact your team, or have that courage to have a conversation. And in the book, I do have a lot of case studies that, they're all real life case studies, and names and situations and places have been changed for privacy reasons. However, it shows you about some of the things that I had to do that were very difficult. And courageous leadership is hard, because sometimes it's much easier for you to shy away from that conversation with somebody on your team about their body odor, for example, versus creating, a culture of courage and, conquering your fears. It's huge.
Conquering
And
your
I was
fears.
Yeah, and it's massive. Trust me, I still have them to this day. Last week, as I told you, I did 2 TV shows. I'm never complacent. I'm always preparing. I want to be, I like to do things on the fly, but I am prepared. But I always still have that little bit of fear. And I think some of it actually, it's not a bad thing. I think fear sometimes can really work well and give you that little bit of fire to go, okay, I'm going to really do this much better. So conquering your fears, knowing what they are, whether they're big or small, you know, all of this is really about courage, which is something I coach to with my business owners that are afraid sometimes to maybe go out to network, to have a sales conversation, to price their programs or their services accordingly. It's all about courage. It's bigger. I could actually probably write a whole book on courage, but it's huge, and it's something that, you know, to me, when we think about courage, I always say to my clients, when did you learn anything when you were in the comfort zone? When did you learn anything when you were inside of the box? Learning and courage and being uncomfortable, seeking out things outside of your zone of comfort, like for me, writing this book, will stretch you to the edges, will stretch you to want to do better, just like standing on that podium, right? And having that courage to step out of, I'm sure with your daughter, there's certain styles of dance that she loved, and certain ones, I know like me, that I was a bit clunky with. So I had to have the courage to work on those much harder.
Is courage different than bravery?
I don't know. I would look that up in the thesaurus to see what it says about both meanings, but I don't know. Like, maybe, yeah, I think you can be brave and say something is how you do it, but I think the courage to maybe, brave is one thing, but I think courage is taking that next step. If I was to maybe analyze it without preparation, it's about taking that next step. I'm going to have the courage. I'm going to be brave. Okay, I'm going to come on Brian's show and be brave, but then I'm going to have the courage to speak and the courage to say things that people may or may not agree with.
I like that. I've always thought the courage was different, and let me give you my assessment. See if it makes any sense to you. I think that the lion in the Wizard of Oz was
Yeah.
courageous because he got a
Yeah.
heart, and with that heart, he was willing to do something to benefit the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and importantly Dorothy, and so this courageousness helped him do something for other people, and it was the heart that ended up
See,
being the critical thing that aided him in becoming courageous. And you don't call
I
the
love
lion
it.
brave, you call the lion courageous.
He's courageous, but he was also being brave. So I think brevity and courage, like, it's interesting, and I love what you said there, and it's great, and I love that movie. Um, and I say that, it's like a muscle, courage, like anything, like working out. The more you use it, the stronger you're going to get. So it's daily practice. That's why these things are not just to go, oh, that's nice, go be a leader. You got to work on it. I didn't get to my age now just by sitting back on my laurels. Like, I had to work. I had to have the courage to go out and do a book signing when I maybe felt a little bit shy to do that. And I've done 2 of them, and I'm going to do some in England next year. Am I nervous? Yes, but I'm going to be brave and have the courage to do it. And what's so interesting? How many people have said to me, my God, I admire you so much. You look like you've got it all together. You've got this book, and like you've just, they're bowing down to this. And I'm going, what? No, really. I'm using this as a tool to help you, right? To work on those things that you need to work on. And I will always be a lifelong learner and continue to work on it. And what you'll notice at the end of the book, I've had, there's case studies, and then I have a coaching moment, something for you to think about. There's a little action plan if you want to, work on some actions at the end of each chapter. And then I have a song choice that relates to the chapter name. And I think the one for courage was by Sarah Bareilles. It's called Brave. It's very uplifting. It's one of those ones that are really out there right now, like one of those anthems, so that you can psych yourself up maybe if you need to have a courageous conversation. Because most people just want you to be honest with them. And I encourage especially my leaders that I coach to go, okay, let's think about how you're going to have the conversation. Let's role play it. Let's think of the outcome. What do you want the outcome to be? And quite honestly, most of the time it turns out better than you thought. And then you just, have another new notch in your courage post.
So it's interesting the way that you describe sort of having an anthem to get you excited. There's a strategy professor in the United States that talks about the importance of confidence
Yeah.
and poses and posture and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's all really about confidence or presence. Is confidence different than courage?
I think so, because sometimes I muster up, I'll speak from my own personal experience, but there's times where I don't feel confident. And, even especially in dance, when I was competing, there were certain dances that I would compete in, perhaps in ballroom, that I wasn't as confident with, but I would still have the courage to go out and do it. So, I was so, and, and again, like sometimes people, you have to put that on sometimes when you're not feeling confident. You've got to then get out there and have the courage and muster up the courage to try, because otherwise people see right through it. Right. And it's hard. This is not just an overnight, here we go, I'm going to wave my magic wand. And suddenly now you're going to be confident and courageous. Like I practice courage. I try maybe inadvertently on a day-to-day basis, but I'm not always confident.
So you've got a sign above you that is kind of interesting, because what it says is get up, which
Yeah.
I think is sort of commitment,
Yeah.
dress up, show up, which I think is confidence, and never
Mm-hmm.
give up, which I think
Yep.
is courage.
I love it. I love it. I think I'm going to have you contribute to some of the audio on my book.
Get up,
No, but
dress up, show up, and never give up. That's a great sign. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back with Claudine Pereira, the Pink Coach, in just 2 minutes, who's just published a book about the 7 C's of leadership mastery. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. My guest tonight is Claudine Pereira. She is the Pink Coach, and she's the author of an interesting new book called The 7 C's of Leadership Mastery that really speaks to some of the lessons that she's learned over her 10 years of coaching leaders. Claudine, is there anything from the book that you'd like to read for us?
Yeah, I'm going to read a little excerpt from the preface. Growing up in the UK, I daydreamed about living the American dream. My life revolved around dancing Moe's Place in Reading, England, and I loved this beyond anything else. My favorite shows were Dallas and Dynasty, and I pictured myself living in a nice home, shopping, and having a marvelous high-powered job where I could dress up and experience clothes and shoes. Now, my dream did come through at the age of 23 when I migrated to Canada with no job, middle of winter. I really didn't know what I was doing or where I was going, but that's the learning here, is that those early days for me were challenging, and I encountered both the brilliance and shadows of leadership, and in the unique position of learning not only from exemplary leaders but from those who perhaps unwittingly reveal the pitfalls of misguided leadership. So I went through my challenges, and the 7 C's of leadership mastery is born from my own experiences. It's a compendium of lessons learned through the trials and triumphs of leadership, a reflection of the growth that I experienced as an employee and now as a successful leader in my business. And it has not been easy. It has been a challenge, but I pride myself on overcoming them and having the tools. And this book is about having a tool in your toolbox that when you go through troubled times, what tools are you going to pick out? What tools are you going to pick out to help yourself and help others?
You referenced misguided leadership. What's misguided leadership?
Well, I think we spoke a little bit at the beginning about a powerful ex-president, and again, to me, I didn't respond well to leaders that were very boss-like. Do as I say, do as I say. They didn't explain the why in everything. Now, that's not leadership. And I know it still happens to this day. That's just the easy way out when you are a leader in an organization, just tell people what to do. So, to me, that was some misguided leadership, but I was smart enough back then to know that it was not the right way, and it was not the right way that I wanted to be. And I worked with other managers, not to put anybody down, that had styles that I did not agree with. And I knew that this was the right way, then not to sound egotistical, but to this day, I still get, messages from people I used to work with 20 years ago to say, you might not remember that you had this conversation about me and my personal life and my child, but here I am 20 years later, and you told me the completely right advice. And to me, that I know I've done my work.
Credibility, compassion, courage.
Yes.
What's number 4?
Creativity. We've got creativity. So communication, creativity, credibility, change. We talked a little about change, courage, and communication and customer experience.
Okay,
right?
so about creativity. Why is creativity so important?
I think sometimes, in our lives and in our work, we lose sight sometimes of the vision, right? So I look at creativity as like a painting. You look at the Mona Lisas. For us as a creative, I consider myself not great in creativity, but I try to be a creative leader. And, it's always making sure that you maintain your vision and then you apply some creativity, or you help your team to give you some creativity to lead towards that vision, right? So it's creating that culture so that your team feels empowered. They feel created to brainstorm. And sometimes, creativity and change are sort of, to me, in the same pot, really, because we need to be able to change to move forward. And sometimes when we need to change and we don't become stagnant, we need to be creative. We need to find creative ways to get in front of people. Like, let's say, for example, if I'm a business owner, and I've maybe lost my mojo, I need to help my client to have a strategy to be creative, to come back and reignite that. That could be, for example, Reels. Reels are very popular these days, TikTok. So depending on, I coach some real estate agents and mortgage agents, a very dry business, but now they need to be creative to get themselves out there as a leader in their field. And that really does help with change and showing up. So I think creativity is really important. And, I really, the movie that some of this book was sort of based around, I'd watched it, was with Tom Hanks, Castaway. And when you think about, if you rewatch that film, actually, he is the epitome of leadership from that movie end to end. And he had to be creative to get off the island. You see him there on the wall and he's riding XYZ pie and to know about the wind, so that when he set sail, that it was actually going to work. So he needed that creativity to get himself off of the island.
So I would have thought him courageous, but he wasn't a leader because there was no one else around. And so how do you lead if there's not other people around?
Well, again, so he created Wilson, his little buddy there, out of that football. And that was his sounding block. So he would talk to Wilson. He would say to Wilson, "Are you scared?" And he would say, "Yeah, I'm scared too." So he would speak to himself. And I think, here's the thing. Leadership to me is a way of life. It's how you show up. It's a personal decision that you make and how you choose to live your life. And obviously he was working for FedEx. He was a natural leader. He found himself alone, but he tapped into his toolbox. Remember, before I talked about the toolbox, he tapped into his toolbox of the things that he was good at and that he needed to get off of that island. And what I love, and at the end of that movie, and I think I speak to this in the customer experience, is that he went back to return the package that ended up on the island with him. He dropped it back at the young lady's house right at the end. And that's customer experience. So, sometimes some of these pieces do overlap, but I really loved the fact that even though he was alone, he had those leadership muscles that he was able to tap into and draw on.
Change. One of the words that sort of is bandied about a lot today is resilience.
Yeah.
Is resilience and change the same thing? Or pivot? People keep talking about, well, you got to pivot.
Oh, I know. I don't know about that word. I think that that word was so thrown around during the pandemic. I don't use it. But, I think that we need to effectively manage change. Change is constant, change is every day. It's about embracing uncertainty, uncertain times, and, leading, for example, and adapting quickly when you need to make decisions to change. So it's moving from sort of one phase to the other. And when you look at everything that's happened in our economy, we're changing constantly. And, and I think that also too, as a leader, when we change ourselves, we can have the impact to change others.
And so resilience and pivot would suggest So I guess pivot is change, that you change.
Yeah, pivot is
But
switching gears. Yeah, really, it's switching gears. It's going, okay, I'm going down here now, but I see an accident, so I'm going to turn up another road. So I'm pivoting to a different direction. It's usually
resilience
done.
would be being strong enough to put up with change, I guess. And
Yeah,
so,
exactly. So I think, so resilience to me, I think is a completely separate beast. Resilience is a muscle, and we don't just build resilience like today to go, oh, I'm going to go and lift some weights and suddenly I'm resilient. Resilience is built over time. Resilience is built when you have a problem and you overcome it. Resilience is about, never giving up. It's about everything that you do that's hard in your life and training, right? Like myself as an athlete and in dance, and your daughter, you have that resilience. If you fall and you might, if you get your dress caught in your skirt, I'm not just going to run off the stage. I'm going to keep going, because that's resilience and that's determination and that's that grit. So maybe we need the R of leadership, which is resilience. And I do talk about resilience in the book as well. But I really feel resilience is a muscle. It's built over time. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to make you resilient. Like everything that you do in your day-to-day life builds resilience so that when you need it, you can apply it, right? So it doesn't just happen and then go, oh, now I need to be resilient. That should be something that you're working on every single day so that when trouble times hit, you're resilient to be able to deal with it, if that makes sense.
yeah. Okay. Communication. Is it just being able to talk? You're just saying go to one of these speech writers course or speech makers course, Toastmasters, and just gotta to talk. What's communication all about?
Yeah, well, sure. I mean, hey, I love Toastmasters. I would say if anybody needs some, work on cultivating speeches, Toastmasters is amazing. But I think communication to me, and this is why I put it as the first chapter in the book, it's really about sharing information um, in a quick and a clear manner and adapting your style to your audience. So, because again, if you are a client of mine, I'm going to maybe communicate differently with you because I've already sort of sussed out your personality type and kind of who you are. And so my communication style with you is going to be different to the person that is a different personality to you. So I think communication is massive on many levels. It's understanding who you're talking to. It's also about listening. It's really about listening and, and then responding and then communicating. Because I think quite often, and the quote that I have, I love around communication by George Bernard Shaw is that it's the illusion that it's actually taken place. Because sometimes we think, oh yeah, I really got that message across, but we maybe didn't. So listening, so just to confirm, is that, this is just help me understand. This is what I'm understanding that you're saying. And then you respond, accordingly. So style, adapting, having, again, the courage to communicate and really listening to people and giving feedback. I think, clear, honest feedback and, keeping that person intact, not just saying, oh, you did that wrong, do it right the next time. Or, the example that I use in my book is of somebody that gave feedback through an email, which is a big faux pas in my case. Just speak to somebody. We're all human. And to me, instead of hiding behind an email, which can get misconstrued, let's have a conversation. And let's plan that conversation. Planning for a difficult conversation is really huge. So communication takes on many forms. As even, me communicating to you about the book or on TV this week. Have I done it the right way? Have I really said the key things? Have I really communicated to my audience? Am I catching my ideal clients in my communication style?
Excellent. Okay, I've got a real problem. I've got credibility,
Yeah.
compassion,
Yeah.
courage, creativity, change, and communication. But that's only 6. What's number 7?
Yeah. So the last one that you've missed is customer experience.
Customer experience.
The customer experience and the understanding the power of the customer. And I don't know about you or your listeners, but post-pandemic, all I've seen is a lot of sloppy service, a lot of sloppy standards. I go to our favorite Tim Hortons coffee shop and I have to beg them for a sleeve. I feel like I'm taking their firstborn child to say, can I have a sleeve, please? Or can I have some black pepper with that? So the customer experience, again, we are in control of that. And, you know, if you take care of your customers, they are going to take care of your good name, right? So to me, customer experience is paramount. I'm running a business. I take very good care of my customers. My clients are, you know, not just paying me to do a service and to help them grow and, you know, leave a legacy for whatever they want to work on, but I'm giving them top-notch customer service. And, you know, and I really think that as a leader, that's what it's all about. Now, you might say, well, I'm not in the customer service industry, or, you know, it doesn't matter. Like, I think at some point you're going to have that experience with somebody. And, you know, I call it de-seeding the lemons. I used to go to Robin Sharma's conferences at the Ritz-Carlton, and they used to they were so exquisite there. They would take the seeds out of the lemons. Like, how often if you squeeze the lemon, it goes and, you know, you've got the seed dropping into the water glass. That to me is customer experience. Now, that didn't take a lot of time for someone to do, to take a fork and take those little seeds out. But to me, I was like, wow, that's authentic. And that's huge. So I really think the customer experience, if we get this right, this is the key to so many things. So many things. And, you know, I use some examples of the airlines, Disney. If anyone's been to Disney with your kids, Brian? Love Disney.
I worked at Disney.
Oh, there you go. They're amazing. I would love to have a conversation with you about that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, I worked at Disney. I was Brer Fox in one park and Brer Rabbit in another park.
Get out. That's awesome.
Yeah, it
I
was.
love
It was incredible. Disney Way 1, Disney Way 2.
So you'll like my, you know, I've got a quote here in chapter 7. Whatever you do, do it well. Do it so well that when people see you do it, they will want to come back and see you do it again, and they will want to bring others and show them how well you do what you do. And that's Walt Disney. So I've got that right in the book, and I talk about the massive, you know, my goal. So I always set goals. So whatever you're doing in your life, you should set some big, crazy, scary goals. Is to go to the Disney Institute to do training. They have a 3-day training around the customer experience, employee experience, and I think leadership. And that's my big audacious goal, to go to that. And I will, because they don't miss anything. I've never seen a garbage can so clean in my entire life that you can literally eat off of it. And they're all white. They are all white. I talk also too about the we love cruising. So, you know, we were at Coco Cay in the Bahamas on the Royal Caribbean cruise, and it's their own island. And we were getting there, they were setting up for lunch. And all the guys, they were all buzzing around. Of course, they were wearing pink. So I was like, right away, got my video camera out. But they had so much pride in their work. God, it gives me shivers just thinking about it. Exquisite. They were all like wiping the counters. They just put all the food out. They're taking selfies with the food. And trust me, they're doing this every day. And they're all standing there sweeping the floors. And then they go to the side and they have this big huddle. And I was just like, wow, like that to me is, and it doesn't take a lot. Like, I think that, again, there's sloppiness and laziness for whatever reason. But again, my standard is that of a leader, and I'm not going to take sloppy, and I'm not going to take substandard, and nor are my clients. I always say, I want you to be the most positive person in the room, even when you don't feel like it, because Snow White does not have a bad day. We've all got problems. And I'm not saying that, you know, to go, well, you know, I'm not going to have a bad day. I have my bad days. I had health issues last year. I'm a breast cancer survivor. So, you know, I spent my diagnosis now. Thank you. And I'm, you know, now I'm out there talking about it, you know, early detection counts. I was 51 years old when I was diagnosed, and no history of breast cancer. So again, could I have caved? Yes, but this is where resilience came in. And I decided, it's a thing, and I'm going to move through it, and I'm going to be a trailblazer and inspire other women. Did I have my moments? Yes. But this is, to me, again, that's resilience. And this is the decision that I made, that, yes, I was having bad days. But when I'm showing up in front of my customer, I'm like Snow White. I'm not having a bad day.
When I was,
is it difficult? Yes.
When I was at Disney Way 1 and Disney Way 2, and all of us got to spend some time out in the park as a character. You know, some of the lessons that they learned and told you, and rules that they had, was that you couldn't go out of character. Even if there was an emergency, you couldn't go out of character. You had to stay in character. Wow. Because the children needed to know that there was a Brer Fox and a Brer Rabbit. And and that you couldn't be within sight of another Brer Fox or Brer Rabbit. And the biggest issue was Mickey and Minnie Mouse, that Mickey and Minnie Mouse could never be seen. You could never see two of them. And so therefore,
Wow.
you had to be authentic, that there was only one Mickey Mouse. There could be several Mickey Mouses within the Magic Kingdom, but you could only see one at a time.
That's so interesting. Yeah, of
And,
course.
I think
Yeah.
about
It's like
Santa Claus is
Santa. I was going to say, like Santa. Yeah.
but often in a mall we'll see several Santas, and so that ruins the belief that there's only one Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse or Brer Fox or Brer Rabbit, and the fact that you had to always stay in character, that you weren't allowed to speak, that you weren't allowed to leave character, so that
Wow.
you were
I did not
authentic.
know that.
They had some interesting rules. We're going to take a break for some messages and come back with some concluding comments with Claudine Pereira, the Pink Coach, about her book, The 7 C's of Leadership Mastery. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 minutes. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour. Claudine Pereira is my guest tonight. She is the Pink Coach. She's written a book called The 7 C's of Leadership Mastery, and it's rocketed up the charts, and she encourages us all to go take a look at it. I love the 7 C's. Thank you for sharing it. Creativity, credibility, compassion, courage, communication, change, and customer experience.
Customer.
That's
Well
a
done.
great list of the 7 C's. Thank you for that. And I love that you say it all started out in the dance studio. And
Yeah. All
I've got
started in a dance studio.
one little
Yeah.
secret to tell you. I was a dance teacher at one point in time when I was a
Get
teenager.
out. No way. What were you teaching?
I taught the disco dancing, French jive.
Disco. Yeah.
Was my thing,
Love it.
which was a lot of fun. And I
It
still
is lots of fun.
get out and dance a little bit today. And I think that it taught me courage and creativity.
Yeah.
And compassion, I guess, maybe for some of those people that had no courage to get out there on the dance floor and try to show them some stuff.
Of course.
Is there a message that you want to leave everyone with before we go?
Couple of things. First is always be authentic and just be you. Dr. Seuss says it the best, there's no one more you than you, and you need to show up as you. So be authentic, make it your own, make leadership your own journey, your own style. These are merely, I've given you a framework in this book that you can follow, but you have to make it your own. There's one quote out there called, it says, comparison is the thief of joy. And we waste half of our lives sometimes, especially as women. I don't know about men now, but comparing to others and going, oh, they're so successful and I'm not. And, half of that is illusion of what you see online. So just be authentic and be you, be real. Be the person that you see online in real life. And lastly is about being a servant. Before you need to be a servant to others. I always say in my business, if I serve, I will sell. And just serve, do for other people. And just servant leadership. If you follow that path, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. And be happy. I think the last song I end with in the book is Happy by what's his name? Pharrell Williams. And it's just such, be joyful serving others. And again, not everyone's going to relate because you might not want to be nice and serve others, but be happy and joyful and make a difference in someone's life. Make a mission every time you get up in the morning, get up, show up, make your bed, and, and be a difference, be a blessing in someone's life today.
Claudine, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
Remind us, what's the name of the book?
7 C's of Leadership Mastery. And you can find it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Indigo, Chapters, and audio version is coming in Q1 of 2025.
Creativity, credibility, compassion, courage,
yes,
communication, change, and customer experience.
You got it.
Pereira, thank you so much. The Pink Coach.
Thanks for having me,
joining
Brian.
us tonight.
Thank you.
That's our show for tonight, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I remind you, I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online at www.saga960am.ca. All my podcasts and videos go up on social media, on my YouTube channel, on my website, briancrombie.com, and a whole bunch of podcast servers as soon as the radio show goes to air. So you can get me lots of different places. We're creative in that regard. And I don't know, we're committed, courageous, whatever.
You are committed. Yeah. All of the above.
Good night, everybody. Thank you, Claudine.